Okay, start. We need a declaration of our receipt of evidence of the proper notice.
The County Board of Supervisors September 20th meeting notice and agenda was posted in the Government Center building in 2 places, posted on the county website on September 9th, 2022, and was published in a legal newspaper the week of September 12th, 2022. It was published on September 14th, 2022. In addition, on Friday, September 9th, 2022, at 7:04 p.m., the Office of the County Clerk distributed copies of such notice of meeting to supervisors via media, via email, or mail. The notice of the amended agenda was posted in the Government Center, posted on the county website, and copies of such notice of meeting were distributed to the supervisors and media via email or mail on Friday, September 16th, 2022.
Counselor.
That complies with open meetings.
Okay. Roll call.
Brad Olson,
Excuse.
Doug Rowdy,
Here.
Steve Warno,
Here.
Ryan Wood,
Here.
Tracy LeBlanc,
Here.
Dan Rook,
Here.
Barbara McAfee, here. Sharon Kelly,
Here.
Tim O'Connell,
Here.
Amy Middleton,
Here.
Denise Lallier-Prey,
Here.
Russ Arcand,
Here.
CJ Simmons,
He's here.
yeah, okay, and John Bonaprise,
Here.
and Jay Luke.
Here. Pledge allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
I needed a motion on the agenda to approve it. However, I'm moving 17 to 8.5. 17 will be the following.
I want to do it. Accept the agenda
on my behalf.
with the changes that are addressed.
It's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So the agenda is approved. Matters offered. Do we have anything that's offered? Nothing. I need no action on that necessary. Public comment.
The minute.
That's it.
We have a public comments here.
It isn't very often that I ever get them in order anyway. Need a motion on
Oh, just
the motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. No. Public comment.
We have one public comment.
Are you saying anything or is there no one there?
Hello, can you hear me? We have one public comment.
Okay.
Hello.
We have no public.
We have one.
One. Where did you go?
She's under.
He's up there.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, we have public comment here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You can go.
All right. Good evening. My name is Nancy Beck. I live at 1797 State Road 87, St. Croix Falls. On August 11th, 2022, I filed a verified complaint with Polk County regarding unethical and illegal election campaign activities during the April 2022 County Supervisor election. On September 8th, 2022, the Polk County Executive Committee met and discussed the claim I had submitted. During this meeting, there was talk that the Executive Committee's responsibility to act on my ethics complaint is somehow unclear. However, your course of action is very clear. By your rules of order and code of ethics, the Executive Committee is to serve as the ethics board and to administer and enforce the code. This code was adopted by the full board in 2008 and signed by Supervisor Russ Arcand. The policy was reaffirmed in the rules of order just over 2 years ago in May 2020. Again, your duties are clear. Under Section 9 of the Code of Ethics, you are required to accept the complaint from any person and move it forward to the accused, define the purpose of the investigation, specific activities to be investigated, and rights of the accused, give written notice of the investigation to the accused, conduct an investigation with respect to the alleged violations, identify and interview witnesses who can provide information relevant to the allegations of the complaint, and make written findings and conclusions based on the investigation. Whether you agree or disagree with the complaint is not the issue here. You are required to accept the complaint. You're also required to complete written findings and conclusions and act on the complaint. If you decide not to investigate, you must provide a finding as to why you are not willing to investigate the claim. No action is not action. I request accepting my complaint be added to the agenda for the Polk County Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday, October 18th, 2022. I also request for the board to provide me with a formal written notification of the motion, findings, and the vote. Thank you.
Any other comments?
That's all we have here.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion that that document be added to our minutes for this meeting, the written minutes. I would second that.
I don't know what document they're talking, I presume they're talking about the complaint. If they provided it as a comment, it certainly can be added to the minutes as a public comment.
Is this the one that we're adding then? Is that the
The
one?
one, the one we
You just-
received and the one we just heard.
That's one you're just looking at here. Okay, the motion is made to add these to our minutes. And seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Roll call.
Okay, so does everybody understand the question? Okay, Amy Middleton,
Yes, means put it in, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yes.
okay, Denise Lallier-Craig,
Yes.
Russ Arkan,
No.
TJ Simmons,
Yes.
John Bonaprise.
No.
Doug Rowdy,
Yes.
Steve Warndall,
No.
Ryan Wood,
Yes.
Tracy LeBlanc,
No.
Dan Ruck,
No.
Barbara McAfee.
Yeah.
Sharon Kelly,
No.
Tim O'Connell,
No.
it's 7-7. So
7-7? No. Substance abuse, number 8.
Okay, just a little preview. Well, this is
Wait. How could the vote have been 7-7 when
it was
there-
7-6.
it was
Oh, I'm
7-6?
sorry.
Which way was it 7-6 at the beginning?
No.
It wasn't my math, it was Mo's math, just so we're clear.
Good job, Mo.
Math is hard to get numbers.
I've asked Yolanda Kander and Alicia Fisk to come. They presented to Health and Human Services. Yolanda could not make it today, so her boss is Helen Swanson, is our public health person now. And they're talking about drug trends in Polk County, and I think this is a fascinating subject. And I think by getting it out in public is a way to make more and more people aware of what's happening and what the potential upsides and downsides are. So thank you for coming.
All right, so as introduced, I am Felicia. And then our presentation will cover both Polk County and Wisconsin. So just a brief overview of who we are. So I'm Felicia and I'm the coordinator for our Western Wisconsin Tobacco Free Alliance. Our alliance's mission is to prevent, reduce exposure to, and eliminate the use of tobacco and nicotine products within all alliance counties. We do this through policy work, education, and informational service efforts. Our alliance contains Barron, Burnett, Pierce, Polk, Pepin, Rusk, and St. Croix counties. We have 3 populations of focus, which include behavioral health, pregnant women, and youth, that is open to all other demographics. So some notable projects that we are currently working on and that have worked on in the past are We Conduct Wisconsin, tobacco compliance checks. We work with our schools to implement alternative suspension programs if youth are caught violating the tobacco policy on campus. And then we also do presentations on our hidden in plain sight exhibit, which I am passing around a couple of our vaping products now for you guys to all take a look at. And then we did order escape the vape exhibits, which we will be offering to our schools.
And I'm Helen Swanson. I'm representing the Drug-Free Communities Grant. Yolanda Chandler is our grant coordinator, but she's training right now. But the Drug-Free Communities Grant is a federally funded grant that focuses on substance prevention for youth in grades 6th through 12th grade. Currently, our grant focuses on alcohol and tobacco prevention through community outreach and other youth prevention groups. During the next grant cycle, we're looking at including other illegal substances. Some of our current projects we're working on are alcohol compliance checks. We've reached out to all the school districts to partner with them to address vaping in school districts. We have some pro-social events upcoming. Specifically, we have one this weekend at the Baker Orchard in Centuria on Saturday and Sunday. We also are creating some tobacco and nicotine exhibits, some marijuana exhibits, and hidden in plain sight. So it's a whole bunch of stuff like that to be looking at, and then just other educational.
So we are just going to give you a brief overview of substance trends in Wisconsin, and then we'll touch base on Polk County.
The first substance is alcohol, and Wisconsin underage drinking rate is higher than the national average. 2 out of 3 Wisconsin teens do not believe that underage drinking is a risk. But 59% of Wisconsin teens have tried alcohol. Marijuana, 59% of Polk County teens use marijuana. 11% of Polk County teens started marijuana use before age 13. And why is this concern? Because marijuana increases the risk for psychiatric disorders, including depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, and substance use disorders. Delta-8 THC is a new trend we're seeing youth. Delta-8 is a substance in the cannabis sativa, or better known as the hemp plant, that is synthetically manufactured from hemp-derived CBD. So the legal age is 21 years old. It's not regulated by the FDA. And it also has psychoactive and intoxicating effects. Some other effects of Delta-8 are anxiety, confusion, tremors, hallucination, vomiting, dizziness, loss of consciousness. And there has been an increase in severe side effects in emergency room visits. Again, the legal ages.
That's just a brief overview of some of the substances that we're seeing commonly used amongst youth. So now we'll get into the tobacco and nicotine part of things. So recently in 2021, the American Lung Association released their state of tobacco report card. And this is done every year, even though the report card showed that adult use of tobacco products has decreased by 7%, there was a significant increase in youth use. According to the National Youth Tobacco Survey, over 2 million high school and middle school students reported they have been using e-cigarettes in 2021, and 85% of those users are using flavored products. The nice thing about this report, it breaks it down by state as well. So we can look at Wisconsin's report card. So currently we have an F for our tobacco prevention and control funding. This is because we have only a fraction of the recommended amount by the CDC. We have an A in smoke-free air laws, an F in our access to cessation services due to the lack of programming that we have for our residents, and then a D in taxes because we're one of the lower tobacco tax states. And then we have an F in flavored tobacco products due to our lack of laws and regulations to keep these products off. So what is affecting our youth? It's not cigarettes or fashion tobacco, we can call that. It's the e-cigarettes and vaping, which are the new tobacco products that are becoming the biggest threats to our youth. So recent Wisconsin studies show that 11% of the middle schoolers in our state have tried e-cigarettes and 4% are current users. Now in association, we have 32% of our high schoolers using e-cigarettes and 20% are current users. So why are these so heavily popular amongst youth? It's based on their marketing. So they have targeted marketing and endorsements, store placement, and then deceptive packaging. Kind of why. So those. So most tobacco users started before the age of 18, which is why tobacco companies fight so hard for flavored products to stay on their shelves. In 2020, there was a federal regulation on flavored tobacco products. However, this did not regulate disposable vaping devices or e-juices. And we have 96% of our Wisconsin youth that are using these products said that they would never have tried them if they weren't flavored. So our packaging is a big part as well. So they have bright, colorful little tins and shiny packaging that are resembling candy products. Vapes are designed to look like everyday items. So that sweatshirt right there is actually a vaping sweatshirt. You have a string, you plug your vape into one side and you inhale out the other. And I'm actually wearing a vape right now. So this is our vape watch. It looks like a smartwatch. It pops out. Here's your vaping device. Yeah, it's also a bottle opener. They're pretty generous there. So that's also a reason that these are so popular. They're easy to hide from parents and they'll blend in with your backpack. And then lastly, we have retail environments. So tobacco products are cheap and affordable. They're offered for 2-for-1 deals. And then again, their packaging is similar to candy. And then most convenience stores, if you walk in, you see that switch receipts are self-serve, or we have a few different tobacco products where you can walk up, grab it, bring it to you. And then lastly, most, if you haven't noticed, but you might notice now, if you walk into a convenience store, most promotional items for tobacco products are based at a lower level. That's for youth eye level. And then statistics have shown that tobacco retail stores or convenience stores are highly more stocked with these products near schools and parks. So just some steps that they've taken to address these issues. So we've heard of the Tobacco 21 law, which was passed at a federal level. However, it needs to be continued to be passed at a state level. Wisconsin has yet to pass this, which makes it impossible for our local law enforcement to enforce this law. So Wisconsin's age is still 18. We have the flavored tobacco ban, which does not include disposable vapes. And then recently they proposed a ban on eliminating menthol as a distinguishing flavor in cigarettes and all other flavors besides tobacco and tobacco.
So we started gathering some more local data. We gave a survey at the Polk County Fairs. We had 127 respondents, so a smaller number. We're continuing to get more data. But we were wondering, what do our community members see as the biggest substances that are affecting our community the most? So alcohol was number one, then meth, and then vaping. And then we wanted to know what type of programming would community members like to see in order to address substance use, and pro-social, pro-sober events, and
Alcohol safety.
and other like in-person substance use prevention activities were the top three. Both Western Wisconsin Tobacco Free Alliance and the Drug Free Communities grant are suggesting a variety of things, doing more education, more outreach.
That's just a really quick overview of what we do and
You guys are instrumental in communicating this message and bringing awareness. Have you seen local schools or communities, any actions that they've taken to try and combat this?
so we know vaping is a huge issue in our schools. We've heard it, we've had questions about it with our superintendents and stuff. So we offer an in-depth program through the Western Wisconsin Tobacco Alliance, which is a program that you can implement into a school policy or handbook. Instead of suspending a student, you're going to give them a program that is 8 lessons long. It's 30 minutes. And it's going to teach them how to quit, why they're being targeted, nicotine addiction, and all kinds of things, instead of just suspending them, sending them home for a day. So that would be your requirement for punishment.
We're also working on other substance prevention and education outreach to districts too. So we've just had two staff complete Catch My Breath training, so that's something that we could go out and train what school districts that do are interested. And we're just that ongoing discussion with schools. If they need help, we can help.
I was trained in, it's Catch My Breath, so it's a prevention curriculum. Schools can easily implement it. It's already made. All they need to do is get trained.
It's all evidence-based.
How many schools are engaged in doing that? You know, roughly?
As of right now, we have a whole pamphlet, like a 60-page pamphlet that we have developed and we'll be sharing with schools, and we're just getting our meetings lined up.
Okay.
Are you offering a train the trainer?
Yes, so they're gonna be introduced to Catch My Breath, and they'll have the opportunity if they are interested in getting trained.
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
What do you need from us? If anything.
Support.
Yeah.
Yay! Thanks for doing that work. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
If there are
Want a
schools,
copy of what we talked about today?
if you have schools that don't want to be trained and don't want the information, I would like to know that, so I could personally go and talk to the superintendent and say, why? You know, why? Help me understand why you wouldn't be involved in this program.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think you could give us an update, maybe not here, but at Health and Human, like how this is going?
Yeah.
Like, when do you think you would be having schools signing on the dotted line or whatever? What's the?
We sent out the initial, this is what we like to do proposal, but we know it's also a very busy time of the year too.
Right.
So we can keep following up, but we can give updates.
So to answer Sharon's question, maybe get back to us in what, 6 months, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say probably after.
Yeah, after.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the first initial.
Okay, well, thank you for your work.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
quarterly update number
Oh, yeah.
17 is listed here. We'll get that report now.
So my name is Melissa Fisher. I'm the CJCC coordinator. I know I've seen some of you before. So just to kind of piggyback off of what Helen and Felicia were saying, we have subcommittees within the CJCC. So right now, our community engagement committee wanted to tackle vaping in the schools. We have someone that works in the schools at Unity who is part of the community engagement. And so she kept saying this is an issue we're seeing in schools. So we've started actually working with Yolanda, Helen, and Felicia to try to really push that into the schools and show that we have like the sheriff and other individuals in our criminal justice system that would really like to see this happen. Right now, our public safety and criminal justice committee is looking at what kind of data we want to be examining and what comparison counties we would like to view. We were like kind of sticking originally with some of the neighboring counties, but then we started thinking like even Chisago County in Minnesota is probably very similar to Polk. So we need to narrow down, like if we're looking at homelessness, what types of crimes, and then really figuring out what counties we want to compare with. And then in our program committee right now, we are working on an aftercare program for people leaving treatment courts. And then eventually we want to look at a reentry program for people leaving jail. And so we're working with an organization called We Support Recovery in Polk. As they most likely will be the one that gets that aftercare thing going, since we know that we can't take every program on with the county. And then a new thing that we have going that Claire will pull up here. We've been working with the new data analyst, Abigail. She's phenomenal. And so now on the county website, you can go right on the CJCC page on the county website, and you can look at all of this data yourself. So like I'll even pull up August will have the most data. You can pull up the year, the month, you can see how many bookings, how many of those were substance abuse. Even here, you can see it breaks it down into age, sex, number of bookings that were substance use. Even though we know some do say non-substance abuse related, but we do know that number is probably a little bit higher. just that these are the ones for sure where there was a substance abuse charge. And then you can also see if the person's a repeat offender or first-time offender. And then here we have charges by substance. We'll click on August again, since we have a full month, that's our closest month. So you can see that there were 31 charges for substance use in August. 13 were alcohol, 12 were meth. So that also goes along with what Helen and Felicia were saying when the community is saying alcohol is our #1 problem, and then meth. That is how we're seeing it in charges as well. THC, PCP, cocaine, and heroin, those each had 1 charge. And then you can see how many were residents, how many were non-residents for those charges. You have to kind of figure this out because this just shows how many treatment court participants we had and what stages they were in. So it doesn't exactly fit on this page right now, but this is still kind of in process. And then here you can look at all of 2022. You can go as far back as 2017 and really look at how many charges there are per month and what some of those substances are. So again, most of the time alcohol is primary substance followed by meth, but you can see in July there was a spike in meth charges. And then you can see just another thing based on the booking charges, how many were substance related and how many weren't. So far for 2022, there's been 880 bookings and 359 of those were substance related.
Super transparent.
And that was,
I love
that's
this.
what we wanted to do, is be very transparent with the community, but it took hiring a data analyst to actually make this come true, because you don't want to see the graphs that I would probably be putting up here. They probably wouldn't even be able to be on a website. So, and this is just another graph. You can see how the charges have gone down. Obviously for 2022, it looks like we're in a dip right now, but we still have a few months left. So hopefully it doesn't go up too much more with substance abuse charges. And then here you can see our diversion programs. So down a little bit, you can already see it, but for August, in treatment court, we had 3 participants and 4 referrals. For our TAD program, is our substance diversion program. In August, we didn't have any participants, but I do believe we have some referrals coming this month for that. Our first time offender program, in August, we left off with 5 participants, 2 graduations, 8 referrals, and 1 termination. And then in August for the IDIP program, that's the first time offender program. I think that one just scroll down. Oh, thank you, Claire. For that one, we had 12 participants, 1 graduation, and 3 referrals and no terminations. And then again, just some graphs that show it's color coded, like the first time offender participants, intoxicated driver participants, substance diversion participants, and then treatment court. And you can scroll through and see what we had for other months as well. This looks at the jail population versus how many people we have in our diversion programs. It breaks it down again, male or female per month. And that's for the jail population. And then over here, you can see in the light blue, each month what the jail population was. And then again, how many participants we had in our diversion programs. And then August again, but again, you can scroll through the months on this, and this is just again another visual that breaks down the substance abuse charges that have been filed by the district attorney's office for each individual month. If you wanted to see all of them, you can check as many months as you want, and it should just combine all of that data. So again, in August, you can see alcohol was the common substance, followed by meth, and then possession of THC, possession of drug paraphernalia, delivery of meth, those types of things.
Question. I think we asked this before, but just for clarification. So when we see alcohol related substance abuse charges, that means that that was the only substance involved in that, right? Because if there was drugs involved, it would get bumped up and be reported as a drug charge.
Yes, so we're actually trying to work with this. We actually have to wait for IT with the state to get back to us on that because we're trying to figure out how to pull the data from the state, from the DA's office through their system so that we can show all of the charges that a person might have because yes, right now it does pull on the highest level charge. Yes, sure.
Would you say, piggyback on that, an OWIRS could be a drug driving, and it would still fall into the alcohol. That's one of the anomalies, I think, on the data. And we do see a fair amount of intoxicated drivers with substances other than alcohol.
Does that get coded then as alcohol?
Right now it does.
Okay, that's like, okay, that's.
How do we know the outcome? Say the charges. I mean, we have all these people sitting there. We don't know what the charges are. Did they get to walk out after 30 days? Do they get?
That's
probation?
another
Do
thing
they
that we
get-
want to start looking at, but that is going to take a lot of work for us to be able to see what the different charges are and then follow that along the court process. Like, did this person get these charges and ended up getting like a signature bond? What was the outcome of that? So that is something we want to work on, but it takes some time. Anybody else?
Okay, it's not. Thanks very much for the presentation. Okay. Number 9, consideration and possible action related to the renewal of administrative contract recommended by the executive committee. This will be addressed by council. Hopefully. He's still here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
So at the executive committee, which is the committee assigned to oversee the administrator's performance review and to address the renewal of his contract. If you weren't already aware, his contract would be up this November. It was a 2-year contract, a 3-year contract, excuse me. The executive committee did negotiate the terms of the new contract, and it's basically mirrors the old terms with a couple of changes. One specific change is that it would require a 6-month notice if Mr. Netherland decided to leave. So it's a 2-year extension, a 2-year additional contract. But Vince could get out of that contract and would have to give a 6-month heads up if he were to sign it and the county were to affirm it. The executive committee recommended a pay increase commensurate with his performance to be a flat 160. And at this point, based upon the fact that we've got November coming up, we ask that it be placed on this board's agenda to ratify those terms. And again, the only changes would be the 6-month additional time to give us time if he were to leave sometime before the expiration of that 2-year term. And also a fix on an error that was made in the original contract as it related to WRS withholdings, but doesn't have any other economic impact. So that was what the executive committee negotiated. And just like when we have to confirm the WPPA collective bargaining agreement, the executive committee negotiated. There's a tentative agreement, but now we need the full board to vote on that contract extension.
Does everybody understand enough that they're prepared to vote on the ratification of the contract, or the executive committee, I might add, was unanimous? Consensus. You have any questions? You're
Does he,
comfortable in voting now? Speak up.
does he have any requests through the executive committee?
I think the negotiation occurred and they have reached the tentative agreement with the dollar amount, the 2-year term, the 6-month heads up, if you were to terminate that early. And so the only thing for the county board to do is to affirm that tentative agreement, and then we can just have Mr. Netherland sign the execution.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
I'll make the motion.
Ratify?
Ratify.
I'll second. Motion made and seconded to ratify the proposal as presented. You want a roll call or? It's just do a roll call. We can find out what his enemies are.
Right there.
No.
Wait a minute, there may be 8 or 9 of you.
It's lucky that Supervisor Olson is absent.
You want to?
I don't know if I can count it this time, but I'll try. So Denise Lallier Prey,
Yes.
Russ Arkan, CJ Simmons,
Yes.
John Bonaprise,
Yes.
here, Doug Rowdy,
Yes.
Steve Warnow, Brian Wood,
Yes.
Tracy LeBlanc,
Yes.
Dan Ruck,
Yes.
Barbara McAfee,
Yes.
Sharon Kelly,
Yes.
Kim O'Connell,
Yes.
Amy Middleton.
And I'll vote yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that's 14.
All right, that's, he's a wanted man. That's the four. Now, one is you're comfortable. We would need a update on our center to see if we ever want to get into a more comfortable there.
The top one, clerk.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mo Norby, I'm the Polk Works Director, Highway Commissioner. Just a quick update on the government center project. Things are rolling along. So I gave this presentation, part of it to Public Works and General Government. On August 23rd, our current chiller actually died. No AC in the building, so we had to bring in temp units upstairs, 3 5-ton units. To try to keep the building cool, which was a challenge in the heat, since we don't have blinds in the new windows. So the south-facing offices, they get quite warm, I was told. By several people. Next slide. We had some asbestos abatement around the boilers done and in the HR area. They removed that. They are cutting out the boilers right now. They should be removed by the end of the day today or tomorrow by the latest. The roof is done up on top. We did find some water damage up there, a 25 by 20 foot spot that we did not know had water damage and some water soil insulation.
I forgot to ask when you did that in committee, was there any, did you have to do any remediation or anything?
Everything, the existing insulation was removed and replaced.
Okay.
There was no mold underneath it. But we were fortunate that way. The lobby upstairs is looking nice now. We did get a couple more windows in, not the service windows, but a couple more windows where the receptionist went in today, so that's coming along shortly. Next one. These are some of the office areas that we're working on right now in phase 2. These are the ADRC area, which used to be extension. We're creating more office space in those areas.
They actually moved in, didn't they?
They're moving on the
They were already moved. Okay.
next slide. This is in finance. This is the office for the finance manager and what used to be the computer room. That is now ADA compliant. Bathrooms we're working on, and the general government director will be located in that area also. The HR area, the asbestos has been removed from below the carpeting. On your top picture, the West Conference Room is under construction. A couple other things that are happening outside on the east side of the building. Brought in an excavator this week. We got the pits dug to pour new concrete pads for the generator and the pillars. We'll be boring and installing 4 new cameras on some of the utility poles in the parking lot. We got the locations we changed the location of those poles, and that's going to be about a $7,000 credit. And the 2 units are coming off the Health and Human Services building in 2 weeks because those will be replaced with the new chillers also. So that'll be happening with a crane. Next slide. Lead times are still an issue out there. We're waiting on light switches. Some of them have come in. Generator is December. The chillers are still in March. Coiling doors, 3 of the 4 are installed. We're having issues with the 4th one in land and water, just because of the clearance beam. Wood doors, still waiting on wood doors. They're a challenge to get, and it's gonna be a challenge for phase 3 moving offices. Trying to lock up those offices. Air handling units are expected in mid-October, which now we don't have air conditioning with our chillers died. With the boilers removed right now, we don't have heat either, so. If it gets cold real fast, you gotta raise temporary heat, so it's. Every day is a new day. So movie dates right now for phase 2, we're gonna move ADRC to the main floor and the vet's office to the main floor the week of October 10th. The community service will take over ADRC spaces downstairs on that week. The following week on the 2nd floor, finance, HR, and EDC move back to their offices. Subsequently, we take the cubicles out of the east conference room, we assemble them in the west conference room. We move Vincent and his team in there and IT into the west conference room, start demolition on that side of the building. That's kind of where we're at right now. Budgetary wise, we're still within the expected range I gave you last time of 2 to 3% over. We're still within that on our anticipated overages. So that's where we stand right now.
Questions?
2 to 3 over, is that what the contingency already spent?
That's what the contingency already spent. 358.
When is the boardroom ready?
Boardroom, we're still waiting on the AV components of that. They're out still in the October range. And we're still waiting for the new tables to come in and be ordered for about 12 weeks out.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Number 11, we have a discussion possible action regarding the resolution 4122, resolution to authorize search and screen to fill the appointment of the office of the county clerk. Residual, which also means remainder of the unexpired term. That would be presented by Malia, our council, Malia Malone, and to clarify the statute in reference to a elected official resigning.
So the statute instructs on what happens when there's a vacancy in the office of county clerk. It allows for the county board to fill for the remainder of the term as it exists or to order a special election. In communicating with other counties that have gone through the same and similar, most counties ask the county board to allow the county to do a search, have applications so the county board can choose based upon merit for the unexpired term. And given that we have quite a bit of the unexpired term left here, that would be, I think, administration's recommendation, certainly my recommendation as to the route the county would go. And so we drafted this resolution to authorize the Human Resources Department, if you so choose, to conduct a search as if they were hiring somebody. They need to be a resident of Polk County or be willing to become a resident of Polk County before the appointment takes effect. They need to be 18. They need to be without felony convictions, so eligible for public office. But other than that, there are no minimum qualifications, so we won't be saying that they have to have a bachelor's degree. But conducting a search this way would allow you to look at somebody's history and their education and experience. Maybe they have experience in the clerk's office or another clerk's office or a similar type position, and you can choose based upon that. That's why we brought this resolution forward and why we amended the agenda, given the time frame that we're looking at.
Want to elaborate on the remainder of the time?
2024.
Would be the election, the term would start in 2024.
And then it's done by a resolution and consensus of the county board.
Correct.
So the term is a 4-year term.
There's no special, then they would have to run for
In
re-election if
2024,
they are interested.
if they can put up with you guys.
Yeah.
Probationary.
You do. committee invite. Go ahead.
Would we try to look with them first? I mean, would we move like her up one and then look for somebody under her or something if she's interested? or
Sure, so
what? I mean,
statutorily,
would
the
she take
deputy
over if she
clerk-
leaves? I mean, what happens if
right,
she just leaves?
right, so let's say instead of,
No
Lisa,
application. What would
Lisa
happen?
deciding to resign, let's say she was just incapacitated for a while. So the deputy clerk or any deputy clerk assumes the position and assumes all of the roles and responsibilities that the clerk would do just by operation of law. And I don't want to speak for anybody and maybe would be willing to move into Polk County. My understanding is right now she's not a Polk County resident, and I'm not saying she's not willing to change that. But certainly, absolutely, somebody with experience would be something that I'm sure you would look.
Maybe she could select a hospital in this county.
All right.
Then you're subject to getting voted in the next time.
The next one, right.
And what is the, when is her resignation?
I believe it was October 8th.
13th. October 13th.
Oh, I didn't.
She submitted her resignation to the sheriff, which is the statutorily prescribed way of resigning from that election.
So Malia, would this resolution give us the option of, I don't know, hiring an interim?
Sure, so again, anybody who is a deputy in the office automatically takes over until somebody is appointed. So yes, there is an interim by way of the statute that says deputies act in the stead when there's a
No, I
vacancy.
get that part, but I was just kind of curious about the baby part.
Well, again, I cannot
If we're gone.
use or consider
I know.
that as a factor one way or the other.
No, I just meant if we don't have coverage, like acutely in the short term.
Sure, no, we are working on that.
Okay.
The administrator
That's what I'm
and
just saying. The short term.
Lisa's office are all putting their heads together to make sure that we have a plan.
That was my question.
All you need now is the action on this resolution, so you can get moving.
Right, so that I think Human Resources is ready to start advertising tomorrow and reaching out to see if there's interest.
All right. Any questions? The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
So do you need something?
Steve did the second.
Pardon?
No, I got Dan Ruck as the second after one of them. There's a couple.
He's close to me and I can hear him.
I'm waiting for the roll call, so. Downstairs.
Wait a minute. Goodbye without a roll call. Well, confirmation of appointments, I don't have any appointments that I'm aware of. How about the administrator? You guys ready to appoint?
I have one. For the ADRC Aging and Advisory Committee, nominating Gene Shefflin. And Gene is in the Amory area. He wants to be on this committee to serve youth and get information out to them. He's got a history of civic duty. He's worked as a for the North Hudson trustee. He's also been a North Hudson Park chair. And he's been recommended by Laura Wagner, the ADRC director, and I'm bringing him to you for your confirmation.
I make a move, we accept the nomination.
Okay,
I'll second it.
motion made and seconded. Did you catch that? Good girl. Okay, all in favor? Opposed, same sign. County Board Chair report. Well, we're gonna make this almost a record. I can keep the administrator down. All that I've been doing is going to various meetings, and the one thing that I find that just about every committee that I'm on is the problem with housing. It's variable. It's from aged to assisted living, to homeless, to just residents wanting a family wanting a place to live. And that is connected with just about every other agency in our county. So you will be hearing more presentations on the housing issues as they exist in Polk County. Because it's absolutely crucial that we start the action. There's all kinds of potential for housing from outside agencies within and so I think Sharon picked something up at the county state meeting yesterday, probably.
I attended
And,
a session yesterday where one of the counties presented
right.
their plan for what they're doing for housing, and it was very interesting. And as soon as the presentation is up on the website, so I have access to it, I'll get that sent out because I was really impressed with what they had
We'll
going.
probably put something like that with additional, about every month, I think we're gonna be running into somebody that's gonna be able to present there's some unbelievable things, that Barb experienced through Impact 7, that we had looked at. I mean, pardon? Oh,
That's
yeah,
the red
yeah,
cap.
West.
Yeah.
I go Impact 7, that was all, still around, but not like they were years ago. Okay, yeah, West Cap is another Salvation Army. There's all kinds of available. All we have to do, I believe, is start coordinating and getting something together. We can get something accomplished that's going to be nothing but advantageous. Now, do the administrator, do you have anything?
Yes, I've got a report here of various things that are going on. First of all, a topic of interest, I know that many of you, and it's been covered all summer, has been the mobile command center as an option. And I just received an analysis from Chief Deputy Burrows on a wide range of options. And the sheriff is asking to take a look at not just the new ones, but rather what are some other good ways that we can provide that equipment necessary for our law enforcement. And so I do have like 4 options. They range from repairing and retooling a current vehicle, purchasing a new unit. These options will be presented, or what I will be doing is working with staff, with sheriff, with Don, and making a recommendation next month in my budget. Make that recommendation, and obviously you'll have an option to either change it or amend it or whatever. But we're putting the work in on this to make sure that we're considering all the ramifications. Parks and Trails update. Tell you what, the folks are doing a great job, Mo's area, Bob's area, of planning and implementing updates to our parks and trails. Playgrounds are now installed at D.D. Kennedy and Lotus Lake Park. We are coordinating continuously now with St. Croix Falls on a mountain bike trail. The facilities down in that area. Summers Lake has 6 new parking stalls for horse trailers. Wanderers parking area has been expanded for trailers of all users. The equestrian season, by the way, on the Stour begins October 1st and runs through October 18th. That's the day before hunting season. October, our teams are cutting trees and brush along the Sawmill Trail, laying fresh gravel where needed. We're planning for the ATV park and trail up in Sterling. We're at 30% design area. Next, we'll do 60% and 100% in January, I believe is when that is due. And as a result of our comprehensive plan trail, or excuse me, comprehensive trail plan, a feasibility study is about to begin to assess options to connect St. Croix Falls area up to Burnett County along the corridor of the Gandy Dancer Trail so that it would be accessible to equestrians and ATVs. This is a feasibility study. It's just to look, is there a way to go? And what are the options? They're going to present 4 different options of how it could work. No, not just along the trail necessarily, but other options around that area. And this will include some public input and stakeholder input as well. So hats off to the crews. I mean, they've been working hard here, getting as much done this summer as possible. Some of you know, depending on which committee you're on, but recent land sales have occurred on the Clam Falls flowage. You recall when we acquired that land, when we took over the dam from Northwestern Electric Company, there were some lots on there. And we, I think a 9.7 acre lot netted $56,330. And a 3.9 acre lot netted $5,751. So I think it's a good move by the county to do that. Also, we have a human resource director that we are starting to recruit for. We have contracted with HR Gov to help us in finding the right person for that. And I think it is a very significant move because this is an individual who's going to be strategic and professional by knowing human resources and up to date on current activities, things that we hope to implement to really improve and change how we run the government. Includes a wage study, and also we're altering possibly our merit pay strategies. We also are changing our performance review approach and enhancing that. And just FYI, if you remember about a year ago, the board asked us to create a bonus system or a bonus structure. We've been working on that. What we realized is we need to have first a performance review process in place, which can identify the key parameters and activities that an individual is performing so that we can differentiate and award the appropriate people those enhancements. So that is what we're working on this year, and then we'll work on the bonus and the possible changes to our merit pay system. And one last thing, it was mentioned earlier, and I thought, oh, this is good news. I'll just give you a teaser. Mid-October is our launch date for our new website. And we'll have more on that for you. And I can't tell you how excited I am. If you've gone to our county website, it's not the easiest thing to maneuver, and it's not the most pleasant experience. Scott Good, Claire Johnson, and others have worked on this and done a great job. And when we get all the information inserted, you're really going to like it, and the citizens are going to like it because it's going to be an easy flow of information.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Sorry if you mentioned it, but did you say who's doing that Andy Dancer feasibility study?
Yes, I did not say it, but it's a company called SRF Consulting Group. It's out of the Twin Cities, I believe. They are engineering and planning. They have a lot of experience in not only planning trails like this, but they also have some familiarity with Polk County, and they know how complex and how important they do this right.
This is just me catching up on how it works. Is there any involvement with that with us at all, or is that outside just PTAG?
Yeah, they will. In fact, we have a meeting tomorrow with Environmental Services to discuss the process, but they will come to us with different options and information from community input, so on. There will be oversight by either the Environmental Service Committee, or we do PTAG and then the Environmental Services Committee, and that's what we'll discuss tomorrow.
Anybody else? Thanks, Vince. I think you're up next too.
I think I am. And don't be scared just because I've got 50 pages here. I really, what the purpose of this, and I'd just like to say hats off to Don Wortham, Terry Foyer, and our finance staff, because if you've noticed, we've gotten a lot of information to the board earlier than ever, or at least since I've been around. And they have been working hard. The directors have been working extremely hard, as have their staff, to get information together quickly. Don is cracking the whip, making sure that things get done on time. You can go to the next slide. Much of this you've seen, so I'm going to go quickly through some of these. You've seen the committees. But here we are on September 20th. This is just a brief overview of where we are in the process and kind of some of the themes that you've heard about or Don has mentioned to you. And I just want to confirm the direction we're going so that you, again, can react or come to me later or at the next committee meeting you're in, give us input reminder, here's a big picture look at our budget, the revenue sources. Obviously, property tax accounts for 30%. That's our biggest, but it's only 30%. And it's kind of surprising. People think, oh, property tax pays for our government. We do a lot of work to find revenue in other places. We have state aid, bonds and loans, charges for services, intergovernmental revenue, much like ARPA and those types of things. But you can just kind of see, those are the things we try to manage and say, where are we going to get enough revenue to do what we need to do? Next slide. This is a big picture of expenses. That's no surprise, the biggest expense is personnel, and that's 40%. But we also have professional services, like when we hire consultants or legal consultants and others, doctors or whatever we may need, depending on the situation. Capital outlay is 15%. You see Mo up here every month, and he's always got things, as well as other parts of the county as well. The current themes that I think Don has done a very good job of mentioning to you, and we want to keep everybody aware as we think about what do we want to do, how are we going to do it. We always got to remember we have challenges this year that we didn't have before. Inflationary pressures have increased considerably since our last budget cycle. Employee-related expense will increase. That's COLA and merit expansion. It is all around the state. It is all around the country. We got to be smart about it, but we have to identify ways to continue to reward our employees in a way that they stay here and keep providing the services here. Non-employee operating costs continue to increase. We've heard about how inflation is every time we purchase something. We plan on ordering a truck early in the year, and by the end of the year, it's gone up considerably in price, as have capital projects. Revenues have been pretty good the last couple of years. We've been fortunate in that we've had tremendous amount of state and federal aid, but we know that coming in 2023, those funds aren't going to be nearly as plentiful. In fact, you could say they'll dry up quite a bit. So we have to do our job with probably less money coming into the county. The levy is relatively flat, and if you didn't know, the levy is a calculation that our finance people work on, and it takes us a while to get. We just got it, I think, just in the last week, the formula that we have to apply. Then we go in and enter all the numbers and programs and situations that we're involved with, and we just came up with what we think is a pretty good projection. Don had originally thought that we would have an additional $500,000 in levy. It's actually about $310,000. So it's a little less than we had thought. Now, bottom line, my mindset going into this, we need to be fiscally conservative in how we approach it. We have to understand what we're going to order and why. If we get something or if we do something, something else may have to sacrifice. Our response to these things, we have some expense side strategies. We are examining non-critical hiring. Now, we always examine who we're hiring and so on, but we do have openings, and we're going to be a little more critical on who we hire and when we hire, and is there another way to get done? Is there capacity someplace else where we can rotate people? We continue to improve in IT technology and so on. Are those some things that can offset hiring? Basically, our expenses of non-employee things are going to be flat. We're going to hold them to the line where they are. As usual, and this on very important things that we know we're going to do at the early part of 23. If we can, we'll move those into the end of 22, things like that. And we will have to prioritize what capital expenses we go after. On the revenue side, we continue to seek enhanced revenue from our operations like GAN, our clinics, recycling. We seek additional outside funding and grants wherever possible. I know we always say that, but we we continually now, and we talk with our directors and staff, what other opportunities are there to help us pay for some things. We also transferring in funds from our critical project. You're familiar with what we've done the last couple of years with our health fund and also on our general fund. Now, just so you know, the general fund, and we now have a, if you recall, we kind of restrict ourselves at 50% of our general fund. We keep kind of for that emergency need. If you recall what the audit said, and Don emphasized this, that we initially said the auditors would say you have 28 million in a general fund. So that already it takes it down to 14 million. It's a little misleading because of that 14 million, about 8 million is encumbered or already committed. So in reality, we've got about $6 million in our general fund that is an option. If we have something that we need to do, you all can say, we can dip in at this budget cycle and say we're going to pay for something using our general fund. And also, not that we're going to do this, but we do have that option always of bonding. Okay. This was just a simple overview. Okay, this is where we are. You kind of see how we're heading into this next month here. At the next committees, I'll be a little more specific, or the directors will be a little more specific on the funding priorities that we have involving that committee. You'll have the opportunity to comment and discuss those, provide me your thoughts. And then in October 18th, when I present the full budget to you all. That budget, as you recall from previous years, will include not only my recommendations, but then also those areas where we can say, you know, I'm going to say this is, we're going to be budgeted or we're going to be balanced, but there are some things here that may be options for you to consider. And you all can discuss those. And so then once we do that, we publish it in the paper, and then in November, it's the, you know, the resolution is brought forward when we vote on it. So next set of committee meetings, again, you'll just see the directors coming, talking about the things, and we'll identify which things may be funded by a state, by a program that we've already got allocated for it versus those that, you know, are things that we're going to have to find somewhere. Okay, and the next slide, I think we're about done here. Okay, countywide revenues, our levy. Oh, I will mention, you know, our levy, one thing that helps the levy go up is net new construction. And we did get our number. Polk County did pretty well. We, if I have the number here or not, basically we're in the top third in terms of percent increase in net new construction. That's pretty good in terms of ranking. In terms of dollars, we're actually slightly below the average because some of the counties who are really developing and growing got a large number. But overall, we had a better year than last year in net new construction, which will help, you know, shows that we're showing some growth, but yet nothing out of too wild. Right? So, sales tax, we look at those every month to see what can we project for next year. As Don has mentioned to you, last year we blew it away. This year we're pretty flat with what we were last year, but last year was a strong year. But if we can continue that, then, you know, we might anticipate 4 million or slightly over 4 million in property sales tax, and that gets added onto that levy. So, any questions?
Yeah, that general fund, that 6 million, don't we have in our rules that we say 50%? So there's only really 3 million.
Actually, and I'm going to use ballpark figures.
Work it down.
The actual general fund is about 28. And so if you took half of that, it's 14 million. But once we take a look at that 14 million, about 8 million is already committed. Some of it is ARPA. You know, we put that ARPA funds in our general fund but we kind of just label it, this is how much we have for ARPA. But basically, if we use ARPA funds going forward, it will be coming out of our general fund.
Anybody else? Thanks, Vince. Supervisors, anybody got anything they want to talk about? Intelligently.
The conference that.
Yeah.
Wisconsin County Association Conference, that I attended some very interesting workshops. I mentioned the one about housing. There was also one that I attended. It was, a county that was, they hired a data analyst. And when I saw the dashboards that we were seeing up here, it was very similar, except the topic was different. They were focused on calls, 911 calls that were coming in, and what they knew from Health and Human Services, the mental health calls that they would get. And they've been doing analysis to determine, because they had so many calls. They had people that were calling 911 sometimes multiple times a day for help. It was taking officers time, you know, to go out on these calls, to answer these calls, whatever. So they're working kind of hand in hand to determine what's the right, you know, how do we get in front of some of these calls so that they aren't making these calls, and what can we do? And so they've been, it was very, very interesting to see what they put together, and it's something they're just, you know, they've just implemented and just starting it, but they were very positive in the results that they're starting to see. So I'll send that to you when I get that presentation, because it was interesting stuff to look at to see what's possible with some of the information that's out there when you're working across agencies. And I know you guys do some of that type of thing already, but yeah, the dashboards that they were able to pull together from the databases, it was pretty impressive.
I got some material that I'm gonna turn into you. This minute, anybody else around this way? All right,
Yeah, so Balsam Lake District asked them to come to Saturday. For anybody else with Lake districts that they're part of, they're on alert because they found a small number of sea mussels. Yeah, it's a small number. Environmental Services is over here and talking about it. So the Balsam Lake District is the only thing to figure out. But then, kind of similar to when we talked about food trucks, they're also talking about what to do with wake surf boats and their effect on shoreline. So they've got a conversation going on. Balsam Lake is obviously property owners are wanting to use the property that they own, and then right as far as the boats go, but then the land property owners are wanting to protect the value of their shoreline, just because these boats are making bigger than normal waves, things like that. So they're actually looking at, I guess the township of Milltown adopted a resolution back in 2016. Distance from shore than those types of boats. So they kind of had some foresight 6 years ago somehow. And then the other thing that is more pertinent to what we talk about here is at that Lake District meeting, Tommy Thompson, who does the water patrol, kind of echoed the sentiment that the pool of available law enforcement to fill positions that are pretty sorely needed is dry. People are not in the academy. We're not getting the young folks who, you know, are looking to move up into those positions. We're not getting the current folks who want to move over into the part-time positions, some of which are just because why would they if they're already making more elsewhere? But one of the big things is the pool that law enforcement agencies are able to pull from is drying up. And we had talked about long-term vision, and maybe it's something for the county to consider a long-term view of, a lot like the schools have put in programs of promoting the trades and things like that. Maybe there's a communication, education kind of piece that we can work with schools to kind of shift some of that kind of energy towards law enforcement as well. So just something that we talked about at that meeting, and he was pretty appreciative of that. I think he wants to be done, but he's concerned about what happens when he is. Thanks, I didn't mean to be so long-winded.
Barb?
Just really appreciating what West Cap is doing around housing and food security, and Peter Kildee just went to Washington DC to receive some really cool award that he couldn't tell us what it was. But any minute now, I'll read my emails and I'll let you know, but it's for a project they did in River Falls. It combines sustainability and affordability, and it's getting a lot of attention.
That project's unbelievable.
It is.
Yeah.
That's it.
Everything?
Give a quick update that I attended the Town of Boone Lake meeting, and you look for a subject each month. But thank you to County, Mo and his departments, because they gave us a trail update, 2 pages worth. And I brought that to the attention of all the city authorities there, but there was that night that this is what's happening and it's really moving.
Did you say that there weren't any senior citizens because the meeting was at night?
I didn't mention that.
We have our class reunions at noon now, so everybody's. Good job, Chairman.
You can't beat that.
I'm old. Right?
Just on our conference, the biggest conference and delegates that we've had, there was over 1,000. I think it went up. Some meetings was up to about 1,200. Yesterday morning, Governor Evers was there, and candidate Michael was there. He really had a huge presentation. It was pretty interesting. I was there for the roll call at 1:50 on Sunday, and there were 68 out of the 72 at the roll call on Sunday. Pretty fan, and then later on, all 72. Outside of that, I got some information.
Our department of Cushing has 5 new first responders taking classes now. Taking advantage of the fact that it's going to get paid for, but I'm going to do a survey and hopefully come back and tell you what it done county. When we started first responder, we had 18, and now we got 4.
That first responders from your fire department or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the 40-hour with the HAZWOPers?
Yeah.
You have a HAZWOPer vehicle too?
Pardon me?
You have a HAZWOPer vehicle? You have a dedicated?
A hazmat? We have hazmat classes. We have suit, we have rinse down, and stuff.
They're active.
But,
They're active.
more first responders for the medical end. You know, especially Sterling, you can get out there 15 miles, you know, off the road. So anyway, I hope to have a number for countywide on it. Close to the minute money runs out, I've been.
Okay.
Awesome.
Can we have somebody?
Money. First responders. I just thought.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, one other thing I did present, 2 of them.
I just want to say to the report that you did, that 2-page report on the parks and trails, I gave that at the town of Eureka and the village of Centuria, and they really appreciated getting that information because they had no idea that all this activity was going on. So thank you for doing that.
No problem.
Bob,
Well,
Thank you, Bob, for doing that.
I didn't run one.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Motion made to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded. Aye.
Hi.
Anybody opposed?
It said,
Being here
back or because of our time.